The Sandy and Toddcast is a Mind Garden media podcast in association with
Screw You, Todd
Productions. Well, here we are once again. Welcome to the Sandy and Toddcast, Season 2, Episode 1. We're kicking it off. We are really excited.
Oh my gosh. We have Dennis Webster this week, Todd. Dennis is an author. He is also a very seasoned paranormal investigator. He lives in a haunted house. It doesn't get any better than that. And we'll be talking to him this week.
And he's a really cool guy. So stand by. The Sandy and Toddcast, Ghosts and Spirits and Hauntings, oh my, is on the way next.
What, you beautiful souls? I'm so excited to have this platform where I can share my gifts, the things that I do, what we need to do as a collective energy to really step into soul's path. Reiki and healing and alignment. Oh my goodness, these are all so very important in what we do. I have a daily podcast that I do. You can find me on Spotify and Anchor for your daily vibes, your energies as a collective unit, right? You can also find me on my Facebook page where I really go more in depth with it, but you can find me at Mystic Karma by Victoria.
Broadcasting from two very different yet magical places not found on any map. Get ready to discuss the strange, weird, ghostly, crazy, spooky, and odd things that take place around us each and every day, all while having a little bit of fun. This is the Sandy and Toddcast.
So here we go, Episode 1 of Season 2. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sandy and Toddcast.
Yay! We really need real applause, Todd.
I'll work on that. I will go out on the street right now and ask a bunch of random people if they will applaud for me.
It's like a chorus of applauding. Like just
Something
random
like
people on the corner of the street. So Congratulations, we did it. We are now in Season 2 of the Sandy and Toddcast. I am so excited about this season. And we're kicking it off the right way this week, too.
With what? A great interview? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, a great interview. We have so much going on, and it's not just our audio episodes, too.
Yeah, if you run across this because you're on Ghana and Pakistan and you're looking for, recipes or something like that, and you come across our podcast, you can actually find us on Facebook. And I'll be honest, the audio podcast is great because we're going to have a lot of great content, but a lot of the content that we have on our audio podcast, you can actually get in video. And then beyond that, there's even more than that.
Yeah, and who wouldn't want to see these cute, adorable little faces in real time?
Did you see on one of our lives this last week, somebody actually posted, I just got caught up on all your episodes, and now it's nice to, put a face with the names and stuff and the voices and stuff?
And that's it. That's it. We want to make our audio side, our video side, our Facebook, our brand new group, the Stay Weirdos, Friends of the Sandy and Toddcast. That's on Facebook too. Make sure you join that. But we want to make all of this sort of a safe haven for people to come from all walks of life, all ethnicities, everybody to come together, a judgment-free zone, and talk about anything, paranormal or not. We just want all of that support for everybody. And that is what the Sandy and Toddcast is all about.
So it started off as an audio podcast. We got together. We talked about spooks. I mean, that's what it started off as. And then all of a sudden we started having some people who wanted to be involved. And then we started trying new things. And then that evolved. And now I think we've got a really nice mix of not only the audio and the video portion of the podcast, but also doing some fun stuff during the week, during the weekdays and the evenings, So I think that, we've got some stuff planned for this coming week, but things that we sometimes will be doing. Tarot Tuesdays, where we have tarot readers on, and we let them pull some cards and find out about their life journey. Twisted Tuesday, where we have people on or ourselves on to tell twisted stories about towns and individuals and things that happen in people's lives. We've got Woo Woo Wednesday, which I
love it.
Concept, right?
I love it. Yes.
more reading, oracle, into intuitive cards, all that kind of stuff.
Anything we want. I think that is a great day to really concentrate on the paranormal world, Woo Woo Wednesday, and have some fun with it. People can tell stories. You're more than welcome to join us on there. All you have to do is like our Facebook page. We put our events up every week. This happens to be May 2nd. This week, we have a whole bunch of things going on.
Oh my gosh, the schedule is crazy. So we do have a Tarot Tuesday, actually Twisted Tuesday.
A Twisted Tuesday.
So that will be a twisted story, whatever, and it'll be you and I, and we'll be acting stupid and all that kind of stuff.
As usual.
We will have a Woo Woo Wednesday this week with Sudie Crouch, who is a intuitive card reader. So she's going to do a little bit of that, but she's got her own twisted stories to tell. And somewhere down the line, she said she actually does classes for psychic and meditation and stuff like that. So she'd like to help us out with that at some point.
Fantastic.
And then Thursday, it's all about the thirsty.
It's all about the thirsty on Thursday. Thirsty Thursday. And we had our first one a week or so ago, and it was so much fun. We have non-bartender Bill who comes on, and he's our friend Bill who comes on and mixes up live a drink for us on Thursday nights so that we can all share both versions, leaded and unleaded. And it's just so much fun. So much fun. We have our cast of crazies. Lisa Hale is with us every week. We play Match Game.
I was just going to say, you can't forget about Match Game, right?
Nope.
That was a lot of fun last week. And I have to say, you guys as players need to get a little bit better at it.
You know what? I admit fully that I suck. I don't lie. I'm not lying, but I like my answers though. I think my answers are funny.
Well, as long as you like them.
I'm just going to say two words, Todd. Banana hammock. That's all I've got. All I've got.
That was one of her answers last week. So at any rate, the thing is, we've got stuff going on all week long. You never knew what it could be, but we'd love you to join us on Facebook. Join our Weirdos group on Facebook as well.
Stay Weirdos, friends of the Sandy and Toddcast.
So search for that. In that group, we can say and do whatever we want.
That's right.
We use a lot of GIFs. We use a lot of memes. We, talk about how our days are going and how we need more coffee to get through them. And then if you follow us on Facebook, there's where we really also post stuff that we've got coming up and promote the podcast and all that kind of stuff. So.
And we have a Twitter.
Oh, there's a Twitter. Yes.
@Toddcast is our Twitter. So check us out on there too.
We're just all over the place.
We are. I'm loving it.
YouTube channel. We've got, some other link kind of thing where you can link to us and link to that. And I don't even know how that works.
And we would love your support, not only your support by listening, by telling your friends about us, getting them to listen, but monetary support. That's what keeps us going. We have a PayPal. We have a Venmo. And I'll put all of that information right in our show notes. So that'll be right there for you. And coming soon, we'll have Patreon.
Perfect. And just so you know, season 2, more guests. We're going to have more people telling their stories. And that's how we're going to kick off this season.
Yeah, lots of interviews. And I think that's amazing because we're going to find people from all walks of life who have shared experiences and can relate to us. And I think that's really important, Todd.
All right. So season 2, episode 1, ghosts and spirits and hauntings. Oh my, is that correct?
I don't know. We've said it so many times now. And we keep saying it differently. It's spirits and hauntings and ghosts. Oh my.
Okay, that works too. Let's kick off the interview.
Let's
All right,
do
why
it.
don't you bring
Dennis
our guest
Webster
in?
is a paranormal investigator, and he's the author of several books. His previous works include Haunted Mohawk Valley, Wicked Adirondacks, Wicked Mohawk Valley, the New York State Lunatic Asylum at Utica, A History of Old Maine, and Adirondack Mysteries. There are so many more. I've got a lot of his books, and before I actually knew Dennis personally, I went to one of his lectures and had him sign one for me. So he's just amazing. He's done a lot of lectures and presentations on both local history and the paranormal. I've brought Dave to many of them over the years. Dennis spent several years with the I know.
Poor Dave. Poor Dave. Your
Fun.
poor
He has
husband,
fun.
man.
He
I'm
spent
telling
several
you.
years with the Ghost Seekers of Central New York before forming the Fort Schuyler Paranormal Society with Dave and I. Dennis is also the co-executive producer of Ghost Pubs and Grubs. It's a paranormal investigation show
Love that
based right
show.
here in New York. And it's centered around haunted restaurants. And I'm very happy to work with Dennis on that project as well. We're having a blast with it. We'll talk a little bit about that today, too. Dennis's vast knowledge and experience with the paranormal, including his experience of currently living in his very own haunted house. Don't we all want our own haunted house? And this makes him the perfect guest for our podcast.
All
So
right.
welcome to Dennis Webster.
Morning, guys.
Look at this guy right here. Hey, man.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be great. I've been trying to get you on here forever, trying to figure out what the best way to do this would be. And I've actually interviewed you a few times before for radio and for an older podcast that I used to do. And we had so much fun with it. I thought Dennis is the perfect guest. So welcome and thank you so much again.
Thank you.
So Dennis, tell us, first of all, before anything else, why do you have such an interest in the paranormal? Is it something you grew up with?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm one of 7 children, but I'm the odd one, if that makes sense. For some reason,
It does.
my entire life, I've always had an allure of monster movies, and I loved cemeteries. Even as a young child, I would ride my bike and sit and read in cemeteries, and I don't know why. So fascination with it.
Do you have abilities yourself, or have you ever had did you have experiences as a child, anything growing up that sort of set the tone?
Actually, no. I guess I got into the ghost hunting quite on accident. I went to a lecture, and I've learned to get better at what I do, but I don't have gifts like you do, Sandy. But I think I've learned to identify things better for many years of doing this.
Sort of gut feelings.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of yoga nidra, which is a type of meditation. That's helped me a lot. I think that's helped me open up a lot more to be able to experience things.
You had a chance to work with him a little bit, Sandy. Do you feel like he's one of the individuals who has kind of opened up to, obviously had beliefs in it, had interest in it, but kind of started opening up? Because I sense there's an energy there that actually does attract other spirits' energies to kind of come through and show themselves to him.
Yeah, without a doubt. Dennis has so much experience, and working with Dennis is really great because Dennis sort of becomes the investigation, if that makes sense. Dennis puts himself into the investigation. Dennis is always going around making sure that everything is where it needs to be, that everything is going by how he feels that it should be. I love that about you, Dennis, because you are the ultimate professional, but you have sort of that compassionate side where you know what the best thing to do in a certain situation is. It's sort of like that gut feeling that you get, and it makes for a great investigation. And it's calming too. It keeps everybody calm. We don't usually run out screaming, run, ghost, run, that kind of thing. So it keeps everybody calm. And we've had some crazy experiences that I think some people might run out, screaming otherwise,
Well, how many people can say they've been rubbed up against by a succubus? I have.
I'm so jealous.
I was telling Todd, tell us that story really quick. I love that story.
Oh my God. So we were doing an investigation of the Braylock in Cazenovia. It's a haunted Scottish bed and breakfast. It's an amazing place. And the ghost group I used to belong to, wonderful group, Ghost Seekers of Central New York, Bernadette Peck. She's in her 70s. She's been doing this since the 1970s. Well, we do seances, which some people like and don't. So we were doing a seance in the dungeon area, and there was a female entity walking around the table, and she decided to lean against me, and I could feel her breathing on the back of my neck, leaning against me, and she rubbed her hands down my arms. And I had Bernadette on one side of me and another investigator here holding hands, and they said I started rattling. I was
oh
like,
my
shaking.
gosh. And what do you do when that happens? Like,
was it as good for you as it was for the ghost? I just got to ask.
Well, I got to say, Todd, at this particular moment, I am a single man, and I'll take any girlfriend. A ghost girlfriend, I'm in there.
As long as she gets along with the ghost family you've got going
Listen,
on in the house.
If you find a girl
Yeah.
that makes you shudder, you got to take her. I mean, that's just a rule.
Like, hey, brother. I was like, hey, this is good.
And I will say too that because I watched that episode of your show at the Braylock, I've stayed in that haunted room 12 twice now and gotten some crazy stuff in there. It is truly a haunted place. And anybody from Central New York, if you are looking for a really nice place to stay, go. It's like room 11, I believe also. Isn't it, Dennis? 11 and 12?
Yeah, 11, 12, 13 are in the main old building. The rest was built off of it, but it's a cool place. Like a lot of the windows in that place, they got from a Scottish church that was in Scotland. We repurposed them in the building. Pretty cool place.
That's awesome. You mentioned the seance and you kind of mentioned some people are into it, some people are not. What is it about a seance that you feel lends itself to a paranormal investigation?
I think when you are when you have good karma amongst yourselves and then you link your hands, it's very hard to describe, but the energy, it's like you can feel like that energy around that circle. And it's almost like everybody's linking their spirits together to put more energy out, maybe open a bigger portal. Anytime I've done one with the right people, they tend to yield great results.
Are you ever afraid of that, that paranormal energy, that spirit, whatever it could be, running through you and not being able to shake it, not being able to get rid of it? Does that ever come to mind while you're doing a seance?
No, but the only time that I ever witnessed in person something that was pretty scary was actually, Sandy knows this, at the Russia Church, which we're going to be investigating soon. We had an investigator who passed away. Her name was Helen, wonderful lady. She actually had a spirit come into her and she was talking in two different voices. It was rather creepy and unsettling. I got to admit, it freaked us all out. And she was so scared. She goes, "You'll never catch me ever back in that place."
From what I can tell, there's a lot of strong energy in there. And I always go into an investigation not wanting to know much. And so far that's worked for me. I tend to find things out as I go along, or I'll do a walkthrough first. And then I'll say, okay, here's how I feel. Give me the information you have so we can put it together and investigate it as well as we can. But I feel like that place has got some crazy energy in it. It's going to be interesting to get in there. It's one of my bucket list items, definitely. Dennis, what are the 5 senses of a haunting?
Well, when people think about being haunted or experiencing the paranormal and ghosts, they always think about that iconic person in a white sheet kind of look, or or the perfect EP. But we know as investigators that your 5 senses always come into play. Like you'll hear stuff and see stuff, but a lot of times people don't realize you can also have like a paranormal scent. Like all of a sudden you smell apple pipe tobacco, or you smell a certain kind of perfume or a soap. And that happens quite frequently. And people will say, "Oh my God, that was the smell of the perfume that my mother wore, who's passed on now."
When we were in the Rucker Mansion, do you remember we were standing in the room that we believe that Roscoe Conkling passed away in, the room where I got the shadow figure, and we smelled formaldehyde.
Yeah, and it just came out of nowhere. And that's when you talk about the different senses.
Yep.
That's what the 5 senses of the paranormal are. You could smell things, or even like, the goosebumps on your arms going up, when you feel something brush against you.
You mentioned the Rutger Mansion. That picture is so amazing. I'd like to throw it up real quick, if that's okay with you, Sandy. Yeah. Tell us the background on that.
This was crazy. I was at the Rucker Mansion in Utica is very historic. Roscoe Conkling, and Dennis can fill you in a little more on the history of it. Roscoe Conkling and his family lived there in the 1800s, and he was a very well-known politician. And they bought it about maybe 12, 13 years ago, the Landmark Society of Utica, and they're restoring it. They're still in the process of restoring it. And it's very hard to get in there, to be honest with you, especially on the scope that we actually got to investigate it the way we did. We had full access of it. But about a year before that, I had gone to a private dinner party there, and they let us have the run of the first 2 floors. And it was about 6:30 at night. And it was August. So it was still very light out. And I was just wandering through the rooms, taking pictures, not in a paranormal way, just taking some pictures. And because I love old things. I love old houses. And I got home that night and had taken a set of 3 pictures in a row. So what I did was kept my feet in the same place, but I pivoted around the room and took 3 pictures. And the first picture was absolutely fine. This was the second picture. The third picture was absolutely fine. There was nobody else in the room with me at the time. And it was about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night when I saw this picture. And I wanted so bad to message Dennis, but I didn't want to wake him up if he was sleeping because I had no idea what I had caught. And if you look carefully, you can see what looks to be the outline of a man in possibly a stovepipe hat in period clothing that we believe could be Roscoe Conkling himself. So he felt comfortable enough with me to show himself to me. I couldn't see him with my eyes at the time, only with the film and in my cell phone camera.
Yeah, the important thing also to keep in mind is that's a daytime picture. So people always think, oh, you have to ghost hunt at night and paranormal activity happens only in the dark. Nope, this is look, it's sunny outside.
Yeah. And I studied that picture, and Dennis actually took that picture to his ghost seekers friends, and everybody was looking at it, and we analyzed it. I spent hours trying to analyze that picture to see if it was some sort of, maybe the motion, but the figure itself is very static. The rest of the room is blurred, but the figure itself is very static. There's no blur in the figure, which makes it even more compelling. So I really believe that I got probably one of the best pictures of a shadow figure that I've seen to date. So all by accident, wasn't even looking for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's when the best evidence happens, when you're not out there searching for it, but you're open to it. And I think, we talk a lot about people that have stuff happen in their house once they start remodeling and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean necessarily that it wasn't there. You just made, maybe you just didn't realize it. Or like most humans, you come up with a reason to kind of brush it off. Well, that's just the wind, or that was just a car going by, or whatever. A lot of times it is the wind. A lot of times it is a car going by, but sometimes it's something very different.
It's healthy to try to debunk every bit of evidence that you get and make sure that there's not other explanations for it before you say, oh, this is paranormal. And then there's other times when you just can't deny it. I saw things at the Angry Garlic investigation. I experienced things that I had never experienced before. And it's very difficult to debunk something that you're right in the middle of, that you're experiencing. Dennis, we saw the black mist or form.
And then she went and walked into it, which was really interesting.
Well, I have a respect. I'm not afraid, but I do have a respect for it. And I didn't feel like it was something that would harm me. I felt like it was very residual. I didn't feel like there was any real intelligence to it at the time. I think what that represented was probably a lot of the very heavy residual. Oh no, the phone's ringing.
Let me just get that real quick. Hello. Yeah, I'll let her know. All right. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. I'm supposed to tell you never to walk in a black mist again? Just to remind you not to do that? Okay.
Thanks.
Great advice. Thank you.
But the interesting thing was what happened, Dennis. I disappeared in it.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. That was crazy. And I was fine. I wasn't affected by it at all. But it was an experience that I'll never forget. I probably won't walk into any more black mists, but,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Stick around. We'll be right back. In the meantime, here's something pretty cool to check out.
Tarot time. If you're listening to this podcast, the divine messages are definitely for you. Let's combine science and magic, shall we? Root cause analysis, business planning, counseling, and good old-fashioned intuitive tarot readings so we can improve your near future circumstances by addressing your present scenarios. Please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. For more in-depth tarot consultations, please book your readings at positivetarowisdom.com. Infinite love and blessings for everyone.
Now, let's get back to the episode. But Dennis, let me ask you this question. Now, Bill and Michelle and I all witnessed an apparition at the bottom of the stairs, and it appeared to us to be white. Is there a reason why you think, in your opinion, a lot of the apparitions that people see tend to be white? We always hear of the lady in the white dress, or, it was a white figure. Do you know why that might be? Why they're not wearing, cream or yellow or red?
Yeah, great question. My theory, it's just a theory, is like our spiritual energy. If you think back when you see things like ectoplasm and mist, it's energy can be transferred, it can't be destroyed. So that's the theory why, spirits exist and we live forever outside of these carbon husks that we live in. And perhaps that's why throughout the ages, when people talk about ghosts or angels or whatever, they always have them in white or that glow. Or
right.
My theory is that our spirit is that light energy.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I agree with that. I have always wondered that. You don't see a lot of apparitions, or people don't claim to see apparitions of, other. It is, and I always wondered if maybe that's the energy, that's the way they can present themselves to us in that form, in that appearance, in that way. So very interesting. What's your favorite investigation that you ever did?
Oh gosh, there's so many.
I know you've done a million. I know.
Well, I could give you my favorite moment of when I realized that this stuff is real. Because remember, I was a writer. I did mystery books and true crime before I got into ghost hunting. I just went along, and then I started discovering it. And at the time, we did an investigation at a house in the Adirondack Mountains, and we captured an EVP. Out behind the house was a woodshed, and the owner had said that was her grandfather's sacred space. The kids weren't allowed to go out there. He did all sorts of work out there, woodwork, whatever. And he had passed away of a heart attack in that building a decade earlier. So we're doing a walkthrough. And at the time, we had the medium Irene with us. I don't know if you know Irene.
I don't.
She's a pretty gifted lady, just like yourself. But anyway, we heard something, and we're like, well, I think we captured something. When we listened back later and we played it, it was a voice of an old man saying, "What are you doing here?" And then the kicker was when we played it for the family and they burst out in tears, it was the voice of their deceased grandfather.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So that was an intelligent haunt, verified it was the voice of their grandfather in the place that he passed away. And that's when I went, wow, this is
sort
real.
of your aha moment.
Yep, my epiphany, my eureka moment.
I found that I have a lot of those. Like each time. Yeah, each time you experience something new that you've never experienced before, it sort of becomes your aha moment. I always had heard the idea that a haunting could be, with the same spirit, could be both residual and intelligent. And until we were at your house and we were on the stairs, I never had experienced both of those at the same time. And the lady who I kept picturing on the stairs, who I kept feeling on the stairs when we were sitting there, I realized at that moment that she's both residual, but yet she's intelligent. I could feel her. Like, we asked her to literally come down the stairs, come towards us. And Dennis, you could feel her on your back.
Mm-hmm.
And then the equipment started to go off, and I could feel her in front of me, and the equipment continued to go off, and then she went down the stairs. There was an intelligence there, and there was a residual to her. And it was just one of my aha moments to realize that, wow, this concept is crazy, but you can have both at the same time of the same person. It's just great. Yeah,
just Mary, I've twice now. I've woken up in the middle of the night. She's standing in the corner of the bedroom there that we did the EVP in.
And what do you see?
I could see an outline of a female figure. I can't make her out too much because it's dark, but I could tell it's a woman, and she's standing in that one corner near where you were sitting, right over there by the fireplace.
Isn't that something?
Looking at me.
And now your bedroom, Dennis, is extremely heavy with energy. There's a lot that goes on in that bedroom. And I don't mean it that way. And like, I don't know. I don't want to go in that direction.
With my ghost girlfriend?
With your ghost girlfriend.
Oh, we were
But
paranormal
yeah,
all night
it's
long.
very heavy in there. That's great. And you also have a piece of your great grandmother's, something that belonged to your great grandmother, the rocking chair.
Mhm.
And I actually picked up energy there. I think she's actually with you there as well. I can feel the heavy I can feel a lot of energy around that rocking chair. And so I feel like she's probably to some extent attached to that chair. How does that make somebody feel to know that, something that belonged to a member of your family is actually, they're there with you, or their energy is there with you?
Yeah, my theory is that spirits attach themselves to certain items or artifacts that they really had a fondness for, an affection for, or that's really important to them, that's passed along to others. That's why, like, sometimes you go into these old museums and stuff, and they like repurp and find these antiques all over the place. So you don't really know, are the spirits attached to those items that were donated or thrown in there, or are they with the building, or
Right.
both?
Well, and I think too, that energy could be attached to it, but my theory or thought process is that our energy can splatter. So you could be with that item, but you could also be doing something else and someplace else and with another item and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to ask you about personal experiences and what place they have in investigation. And the reason why I wanted to ask you is because Sandy and I have had this conversation many times. Early on in paranormal investigation, it was so important to have the lights blink and the sounds go off and the camera evidence and the audio evidence and all that. And I understand that. That's kind of the scientific part of it. You want that to back up those personal experiences. But I also thought for a while we threw out the personal experiences because we couldn't show it on a TV show, or we couldn't show it on video, or we couldn't show, it was a personal experience. And I think that is such a very important, to me, it's a very important part of an investigation. I wanted to get your thoughts on that personal experience side.
Well, thank you for the question, Todd. I totally agree. I think personal experiences are foremost and the most important thing on any investigation, on anything we do. When you talk to people, when you go into their haunted houses, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, but it's hard because you can't always validate it. You feel an entity rub against you. You can smell them. It's hard to put in words, but we all experience it when we ghost hunt. And I agree, like, things shouldn't be put into a box that if the light doesn't blink, that it didn't happen. We can't show it on TV. Why are they afraid to put that on a television show? Everyone can relate to personal experiences. Everybody, I bet, can look back in their lives and have had a haunted moment or a ghost interaction. Especially a lot of times, number one thing we hear as investigators is people who get visited by a beloved loved one who passes away. They'll come to them like one last time before they move on or whatnot. We hear that all the time. I've heard it from hundreds of people in my career doing this. And why throw that kind of part out of it? I think it's the most important part, Tommy. I mean,
I do too. And I also think when you don't recognize it or state that this is what happened, I think it's almost a disservice to the energy or the spirit there, because it disregards the fact that they did make some sort of contact with you. And, one of my aha moments was at an investigation. We spent all night trying to get them to light the lights and talk through the spirit box and, turn on the flashlight. We did that all night long. And when I finally said, okay, we really feel you're here, do something that you can do to show us you're here, whatever that is, something you can do all the time. And I said, do it for us now. And right then at that moment, something that was part of the story that we were told about what happened at that location finally happened at that exact moment. To me, the energy or the spirit there wasn't necessarily able to communicate through all the various devices of equipment that we had, but was able to do this one thing that it does and does all the time. And It's like, it was an aha moment, because it's like, I can't speak Chinese to you right now. If you ask me to, I can't do that. The only way I can communicate through language is speaking English. So in the same respect, spirits and energy have ways that they've learned to communicate themselves. And I think we have to learn to respect that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, Todd. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and what makes a great investigation? But it's the melding of the two. To me, an investigation with only beeps and buzzes and things like that is fine. But when you add corroborating experiences to that, it makes for a well-rounded investigation. It gives you a better glimpse into what is going on. The whole point is trying to understand what is going on. You know, an example would be at the Angry Garlic, Dennis, when we were at the bar and I came up with the name. And as soon as I said the name, and I could feel this female energy right next to me. And as soon as I said the name, all of the equipment went crazy.
Yeah.
And so now you've got personal experiences and you've got scientific equipment coming together and working together to give you one picture. It doesn't get any better than that. I wouldn't want to go into an investigation without both, because I don't think you get the whole picture.
Yeah, and what I think is difficult with these television shows, and I mean, Sandy and I do a very small, local type of TV show, the haunted restaurant one, but I can't imagine trying to do an investigation with a professional production team there on you, and then that costs a lot of money, and then you're under pressure to produce. And hey, and I'm not saying people fake stuff they don't. I don't think they do, but it's a lot of pressure, and I think that affects the karma. Because Sandy and I talked about this, Todd, that we get such great evidence when we do this, but we don't have all these camera people and other people and everything else. It's just the people that are believers, the people that have the good karma, and it brings it out. But I definitely think that these shows, there's so many of them, they're trying to up their gamesmanship,
Well, and in their defense, and I know you're not putting them down, in their defense, that's what the networks want. So if you want to have a show and you want to make some money doing this and have some fun, I guess you have to.
And their entertainment. I mean, that's
Sure,
their
absolutely.
main goal, is to entertain people. So if they get a little blip on the millimeter or the EDI or something, it turns into this huge event, even though it may not really be. It's all entertainment. My fear is that a lot of people think that what they see on the TV shows is necessarily what goes on in real life, because in real life, it's really not very much. It's really not like the TV shows. Not really.
That's a good point, Sandy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's not the same as a TV show. It's more personal.
Yeah, and I would say the one thing is that the one thing that people get wrong is, very rare do you run into a malevolent spirit or a dark energy. Most of it is, I love this theory is the ghosts have the personalities like they have when they're alive. And we've run into them. We run into curious ghosts, shy, grumpy.
Oh, I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to be an asshole. I'm just telling you right now.
You're going to be the asshole
But it's
ghost?
true.
I'm going to be the asshole. And just so you know, my death word, the one that I will say to you over the spirit box, just so you know it's me, is pumpernickel.
Gotcha, brother.
So if you get pumpernickel over a spirit box, you know it's me.
Todd, all we're going to see, Sandy, is his beard. He's got that legendary, beautiful beard. So that's all we're going to get.
Listen.
We won't get it close, but we'll get a
We'll
floating
just get a beard. We'll get a beard.
And then it's going to say pumpernickel.
I may not have had a succubus, but I've got a beard. So you got to have one.
It's legendary, brother.
I've got a serious question, and this is something that I love to ask people. Sometimes I ask them on the street, and they're like, "What?" And here's the question: you're going into an investigation. You've got a night vision camera. You've got a flashlight, which you can use as a tool or just for vision, and you've got an audio recorder. Now, you can pick two more pieces of equipment to go with you. Which two do you pick on an investigation?
I definitely would bring a millimeter because I love them because it's got the electromagnetism and it's got the temperature on it. Definitely that, and probably a Gauss, a handheld Gauss. I really don't think you need anything more than those hand basics, really. If I had just a night vision video camera and a digital recorder, I think that's all you need.
I think the other stuff is fun. It's fun. We have the REM pod. I just bought a REM pod, so we used it at your house, Dennis. I mean, that was a lot of fun. And it certainly did go off when we asked it to. But I think the basics are really, the most important things, to have the basics. Dennis, you sent me some great pictures, so I want to get those in before we start talking about the books. Todd, can you bring up the Stanley?
The Stanley. Yes, absolutely. Check this one out. I'll just say this really quick. I looked at this and went, I don't see a damn thing in this picture. And then I popped it up today and I looked at it and went, holy shit.
Yeah.
So,
Dennis, tell us about this one and your investigation.
What had happened is, even though I say I'm not gifted, the night before this investigation, I had a dream. And in the dream, there was a little girl. And I asked her, she told me her name was Mary. And then I went to talk to her again, and she ducked under a table and disappeared. So when I told Bernadette Peck who we went with the Ghost Seekers, she says, Dennis, she goes, we may run into a little girl here. And I have investigated that place 3 times prior and never had a child entity there at all. And we were down in the basement of the Stanley, the women's room. And when this picture was taken, it was pitch dark, couldn't see a foot in front of you. And we could actually picked up the EVP of a little girl, like, crying. You could hear, like, whimpering. And we asked at the time, why don't you come a little closer and show us your dress, or show us, and she said no. Got that all on recording. And then we snapped one picture, and it was this. So
it's unbelievable. And do you have any information, a backstory or anything on this little girl, or was this all just as it happened?
As it happened, I have absolutely nothing.
Wow.
None of the staff there have ever experienced a child entity. It's always maintenance workers or grown adults. And like I said, in 3 investigations prior, nothing to do with any children whatsoever. So I have no idea where Mary came from, why she came to me in a dream. She showed up for this picture, and it's an amazing photo.
Oh, it's spectacular. It's one of the best that I've seen, honestly. I mean, you can see right down to the puff sleeves, the long sleeves with the puff at the top. I mean, it's fantastic. So congratulations on that one. That's a winner in my opinion. Now, the Stanley is a great place to investigate. I've never investigated there myself, but I've been there a million times. And there are tunnels underneath the Stanley. A lot of people have said that they've been down there and they've heard what sounds like parties going on, people talking. Were you able to get down into the tunnels?
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty unique. I think part of it is there's water flowing underneath there. So that's, I think, part of it. But yeah, the tunnels are really unique. And I don't know why it's so haunted. Maybe it's the land it's on. Built in the 1920s. I mean, it's Baroque Mexican decor. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Gorgeous.
We've done a couple of theaters myself, and one of them, and what is it with water in theaters, but one of the theaters that had just a ton of water that ran underneath it, again, was very haunted, and almost got the feeling in that location with what we were experiencing was that it was almost like a portal, or like a bus station or a train station where spirits or energies came and went. It wasn't necessarily something that was stuck there, but things that would come through and come through another time or whatever. That's kind of the thought process I had on that. And that's why I wanted to ask you about portals and kind of traveling and all that kind of stuff. Do you believe there might be locations that are portals where energies and spirits can kind of
I absolutely believe in that. Yeah, I think, like in your theory earlier, which I've never heard about them being like scattered like that terminology you used. I think that's a great theory. And yeah, I definitely have been on investigations with some mediums in the past and others where it's like we did an old haunted house, and there was a closet, and it was like that closet, the energy was flowing in and out of it. And our theory is they use portals to travel back and forth between locations. Like when people say, like, how can Grace Brown, who was murdered by Chester Gillette up in this area, how can her spirit be at her childhood home in South Oswald, but also be hanging above the lake over where she was murdered?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that they can move from place to place. I feel like, and there are some of them I think that maybe choose to be bound to a certain place. Maybe the sadness, or the joy that they experience there sort of keeps them bound there. Their fear may keep them bound there. But I think generally speaking, they do have the free will to move from place to place. I hear some people who say, "Oh, well, how can you experience Grace Brown at her childhood home and then experience her up at the lake and where she passed away?" But I agree. I think it's highly possible. My best friend Karen lived in a 100-year-old house, and they decided when the kids were born, they decided to do some renovating, and when they started renovating, all hell broke loose in that house. There were all kinds of, Karen would hear whispers in her ear. The kids who were very little at the time would talk to imaginary people, or quote imaginary people. They would claim to see somebody at the end of the hallway. All of this stuff kicked up, and I really feel like there was a portal in or very close to their property, because they were just coming and going, and it was never the same experiences or the same energies. She said it was always something different. So I really believe, I agree with you. I think that they use that the intelligent spirits really use that to be able to move from place to place. I know that I have several different places that would make me happy to be at. Why would I stay in one place if I had the ability to be able to
You just want to spend all your time with me. That's what it is.
I'm going to haunt you.
When you
I'm
go,
going to haunt you. Believe it. That's right.
My phone will be ringing all the
boy.
time. It's going to be her on the other end.
So Dennis, the Southern Adirondack General Store. I showed Todd this picture, and he just said, "Wow."
Yep.
Tell us about that investigation.
That was wild. This was the last one I investigated for my book, Haunted Adirondacks, which will be out this fall. And the owner said, "We think we got a good picture." And this particular store used to have 2 stories. The second story was taken off. It was a stagecoach stop, and it was also a brothel. And so there was several tragic deaths, including a young child got shot and killed out in front like 100 years ago. So the owners, and the weird thing is they took this picture. This picture is rather old. It was actually developed from film. So I took this off of their printed picture with my camera. So it's even better when you see it in person. But the cool thing about this is you can see through this gentleman, but where the window is doesn't exist right now. They have
Right,
old pictures of the store where those windows have been removed, and it's a solid wall now. So it's so when they took the picture, like in the 60s, they said that door and window was removed, and this picture is like from 10 years ago. So
that's wild.
And
so what does everybody see here? Because I that whole like pilgrim-ish kind of look to it with
almost like an overcoat of some sort, like a heavy overcoat type of thing on a hood, or I'm not. It's fascinating. Dennis, did you get anything corroborating a man when you guys were investigating?
Interestingly enough, we got some good EVPs and stuff. We didn't get a man's name, but it was rather strong in the back room, not in the front where that picture was taken. But the odd experience at that place was the land out behind the building, because the owners had said that they had some weird experiences out behind it. So we did a little EVP session in the woods, which, it's difficult to do outdoor type stuff. But got some very strange fog and some mist that came out of nowhere, and some really odd EVPs. But we did not pick up a name, so I still don't know what the name of that gentleman is.
And I've asked this question to other investigators before too. What's your take on using mediums and psychics on an investigation?
Oh gosh. You know what I mean? I've been around a lot in my career, and I think that they run the gambit of being charlatans to the real deal, to some that have a slight ability, to some that are like mind-blowingly incredible. And I don't think people go out of their way to try to be a charlatan or a fake. I just think they so badly want to have gifts, but you got to be able to back it up, I guess. It's hard to really explain, but I guess it's like anything else, like with baseball. You could be a terrible baseball player like me, or you could be Derek Jeter. So are you the Derek Jeter of mediums?
Right. It's hard. I mean, I look at some of these mediums and I'm like, holy cow. These people are spot on and they are so specific. And then I think, okay, well, I have some stuff, you know what I mean? I'm still developing. I'm still learning. I've been told a couple of times that I actually have abilities that I haven't developed at all yet. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. But I've always felt like a true medium can add so much to an investigation, because that's where your personal experiences really come in. You know, being able to feel I think my strong point is being able to feel the energies. I can feel male or female. I can feel when they're right by us. I can actually converse with them because I'm picking up on their emotions and their feelings. We were in the investigation at Sylvan Beach, and I literally had a conversation with the doctor's wife, and I could feel her feelings there. You know, I think that's what my strong point is, being able to tell. But then there are people who can see them, and I'm just blown away by some of that. But you're right. There are some people that I think want so badly to be that part of an investigation that maybe they push themselves a little more than they should. And I think that's when it really hurts an investigation, because you're not coming up with anything solid.
Well, I would tell any medium or any, don't feel you always have to be on, because we could do one Sandy and you could have nothing, and you could do another one and then you're clicking. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
Exactly.
So don't feel you got to fill in the gaps or you got to perform because, I'm the medium. I got to do something.
It's funny because so far, knock on wood, so far I've had really good, I don't want to call it luck, but I've had really good experiences with it. But I know that there's going to be a time when I'm just going to go in there and just be like, I got nothing. But that's where I feel like I can lend my skills as an investigator as well. I like to go into the investigations as both. I want to be a solid investigator, but I also want to take the feelings and the emotions and the names per se that come to me and use them to get the whole picture.
And I think too, that goes with equipment. Sometimes that Mel meter is going to be your greatest gift at an investigation. And another time everything else is working and nothing's happening there.
How amazing is Dennis Webster, Todd?
He's one of those guys, like when you're a guy like me and I've never been really cool in life. So when you meet somebody who's cool, the guy drives a Harley, he's a ghost investigator, he's got a really cool house, he writes books, right? He's the kind of guy like, I would want to be Dennis Webster.
Who wouldn't want to be Dennis Webster? He really is a great guy.
I love my hair and beard. That's all I'm going to say.
I do.
Other than that, I wouldn't mind being you.
I will say I love your hair and beard too, and it is on point today. So thank you to Dennis Webster for part 1, because guess what, Todd? We're not done yet. Next week, Dennis will be back. We're going to give you part 2 of our interview with the Dennis Webster.
Excellent. I can't wait.
Don't forget, you can help us. You can support us. Venmo, PayPal. Contact us through Facebook. You can find us anywhere that you find your podcast. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of them are. We're everywhere. And make sure we are everywhere.
We are.
Twitter at Toddcast. You can just find us. And thank you guys. We're kicking off season 2 in a big way, and we can't thank you enough for your support.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
How many more miles left in this race? How long it takes, I don't know. In the end, it ain't about the pace. It always ends at the crossroads.